Welcome to this edition of Conversations with the Mayor, our monthly conversation with Dan Rizzo about topics in and around the city. We try to have this meeting every month. Sometimes we're not able to because natural events and things of that nature, which is part of why I'm dressed the way I am today. It's my little impersonation of Michael Dukakis in the Blizzard of '78. Many references to the Blizzard of '78 were made during this Blizzard of 2013. The snowfall levels, of course, there was far more there, and the whole the water levels rising and so forth, and just the emergency management part of it. Talking about the city's response, snow removal, and so forth, how did you think things went for that storm?
I was very pleased with the city's response. Early on in the storm, really right up until the last snowflake pretty much falls, we're in, as you alluded to, an emergency management response mode. Because of the tidal surge, because of the high tides that we were experiencing during the storm, and wind direction, we were very, very concerned about the possibility of flooding in the flood-prone areas throughout the city, and so we had to really prepare for a possible evacuation should that have become necessary. That really was the primary focus, as I say, until the storm is over, to make sure people are safe, and obviously that people that may need to be evacuated, that the city is prepared to do so. So, fortunately, because of the timing and the wind directions, and I think a lot of it had to do too with the fact that, certainly in one of our most flood-prone areas down in the Beachmont area, that revetment project really, paid dividends big time in this particular storm by not coming over the wall and forcing us to have to, take people to higher ground. So, everything worked out really, really well with respect to the lack of flooding. And then as far as the city's response to the plowing, I think that we couldn't have done better under the circumstances. There was an awful lot of snow. It was the sixth most major storm, snowfall-wise, in recorded history. So, when you look at the amount of snow that was on the ground, the challenges just to keep the streets open during the storm that our DPW and contractors all had to deal with, I think the city did a phenomenal job, and that also includes our fire and police department as well. They were out there 24/7, making sure that people that may have needed assistance received it, and also making sure that the roads were passable in the event that emergency vehicles were required in any one of our neighborhoods across the city.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, safety and welfare of the residents, as well as the snow removal, probably the two key things I think that you're trying to manage during the storm. And I have to say that I had the occasion to ride in one of the Humvees that the police now have, because I had to go get some insulin needles from my mother on Broadsound Ave. She was staying with us and forgot her needles, so we had to go down. They took me down there and brought me back, and it was great. And all the time that we're riding in the vehicle down the Parkway or up the streets of Beachmont, people are waving and smiling, and it was unbelievable.
Yeah, well, the people, I was out most of the storm, and the people, our residents were great. We saw incident after incident of resident helping resident, and it was one of those storms where really everybody kind of pulled together to help one another, and I think that really made the city's job that much easier. Mm-hmm. So.
And I have to give kudos to a certain group as well, the ROTC, the junior ROTC from the high school. And I know that Snow Angels, I think they were called.
Yes.
You instituted a program, I think, to try,
Snow Angel,
yeah,
yes.
Trying to help elderly or people who are too ill or whatever to be able to do snow shoveling, so that these kids could go around and help them out, either call in and ask for help, or actually I saw them patrolling in Beachmont looking to help people.
Yeah, I'm really glad, Ed, that you mentioned them, because they did do a great job. Major Bowker and Sergeant Major Calendar and their whole crew of JROTC really, really provided a valuable service. And it's one of the programs that I'm trying to get off the ground, or that our administration has tried to get off the ground, and I think with a lot of success. But obviously we can't get to every single house that would require assistance. We're trying going forward to use more of an application process, so people really that are disabled or elderly and really don't have the money to pay somebody to get shoveled out. We're going to have to go to some sort of application process, because the demand has just got so high, and these kids can only get to so many homes. But they did an outstanding job.
Yes, exactly. Maybe some sort of an pre-identification process, right? So you know where there are people that could use some assistance. Getting to lessons learned from this, and I think one of the things that I heard was, there were some lessons learned to parking. Always, trying to get cars off the street so that you can plow was always an issue, trying to find more parking spaces. You were able to do some things, like using the garage down in Wonderland, but I know you're looking to do other things to kind of improve that ability to get cars off the street.
Yeah, well, I think one of the things we could have done a little bit better is maybe more outreach to let people know that MBTA parking garage was available, albeit at a fee. The MBTA worked it out with the city that people could pay $5 per day and park there. The nice thing about that is not only are they going to be in compliance with the parking ban, but when they go to get their vehicle after the storm, there's no snow on their vehicle. It's sheltered parking. So we really need to do, I think, a little more outreach, a little better job letting people know that that's available. We did hear some conversation from people thinking that maybe, because of the lack of areas. I mean, obviously you've got the Wonderland parking garage, but there's so many cars in the city. Where do they all go? And people had talked about the schools, and the problem with that is, we did try this several years ago, and a lot of people would just leave their cars there for days on end, and we need to open up the schools to get the kids back in. So it's something that we'll revisit, but I'm not 100% confident that we'll be able to, go back to that, because, it does present its own set of problems. So.
Yeah, like everything else, you come up with solutions. There's always something that you've got to tweak a little bit there.
Exactly.
And of course, when you look at the whole emergency management part, I mean, there's the planning that goes into it, and you had the emergency management meeting with the chief and all of the key players from the city, the department, DPW, the police, the fire chief, the state police, all of those people, which was televised on the TV. And then after the event, you did a post-review.
Yes.
And of course, being in emergency management, there's that pre-planning, there's the post-review, but there's also how you communicate with people throughout. And you talked to that communication at one point.
Yes. It's very, and one of the things that our office received compliments on was the fact that people felt as though that they were kept informed. And that is and will continue to be very, very important for my office, to make sure that people have access. We use the code red reverse 911 phone calls. We use Revere TV, which was a great asset for us during the storm. We also, for the technologically savvy, used Facebook and Twitter. So we tried to put out as much information about the storm as we possibly could, so that people could make, necessary arrangements, or at least be kept up to speed as to what the city was doing to deal with the storm. So, the state police, the DCR, everybody really worked together. And I think that really, when you compare some of the surrounding cities, like the city of Boston, unfortunately, they had a lot of problems over there. The city of Lynn, I think they lost about 25% of their neighborhoods. We had, there was issues over in Malden. So, we really, under the circumstances, the magnitude of this storm, I think really did an extremely good job, not only in keeping people informed, but its response to the storm itself.
Oh, good. Well, hopefully we're not going to have another blockbuster storm between now and the birds start singing in April, but I'm going to take my shovel and my gloves and go home and pack them up in the shed, and hopefully I'll never see them again until next year.
That makes two of us. Okay.
All right, well, I put away the shovel and my muckluck and my grumpy old man hat for the time being until next year. We have a couple of other topics that we wanted to talk to you about this month, and the first one was Harry Delarusso Stadium. Talk a little bit about the grant that we got and what's actually going to be done with the stadium.
Yes, so we received a $2.72 million grant through the Gateway Parks program. Revere is one of 24 cities that is considered a gateway city. And so there is about $5 million per year that is divvied up amongst the 24 cities. And so for the city of Revere to get the $2.72 million, that will be over a 2-year period, is really, that's, you know, close to a third of the overall $10 million over a 2-year period that is there to serve 24 communities. So we did quite well with that. And but Kurt Gertner, who's the executive director, and he presides over the Gateway Parks program, when he came to the city, I explained to him that Revere had a growing student population. We're not blessed with many fields for kids to play on, and of the fields we have, obviously Harry Delarusso Stadium is just in deplorable condition, from the field itself to the bleachers to the field house. This awful condition. And in fact, there's been a lot of people in the city, and you know, like, to their credit, that have tried even private fundraising. But when you're looking at a $5 to $5.5 million, you know, overall project, you know, it's hard to raise that kind of money,
Yes,
you know, through pots of gold and
Yep.
you know, pancake breakfast. You just can't get there. So this really was a kickstart. And I have to be honest with you, this, you know, in my administration, this was one of my top priorities, was to, you know, do everything I could to secure some funding for a new Harry Delarusso Stadium. And so I'm thrilled that we were able to get the $2.72 million. I'm asking the city council to bond the other portion that it will take, which I believe is will probably wind up being about $2 million. But you know, the 2.72 from the Gateway Parks program really, you know, without it, you know, there's just no way that I could go to the city council and ask them for a $5 million expenditure. So, you know, it's really, I think it's gonna be a first-class field, all the latest and greatest with respect to lighting, bleachers, you know, field house where, you know, the kids, the coaches, the referees can all go get warm, you know, at halftime, and it's not only, it's going to be a multi-use field too. So, you know, it's not just football that can be played there, but soccer will be able to be played, and as well as lacrosse. So,
And I understand that, if I'm not mistaken, currently the city does not have a regulation track anywhere, and now they will, so that the track team will be able to host events at home.
exactly. If you've been down there, you know, the track itself, if you want to call it a track, is just asphalt.
Yep.
This is going to be a rubberized track that, you know, obviously is weatherproofed and all that stuff, but it will be a legitimate regulation track where now our high school can host home meets and really have a field that we can all be proud of. And in fact, we're talking right now with National Grid about, in the warmer months, to be able to, you know, like, they want to work some sort of an arrangement out with the city where they'll charge a reduced rate if we keep the lights on until at least 9 o'clock. That, I believe, will be a great thing for people that want to go out and get some exercise maybe after dinner. They want to walk the track as opposed to walk the beach. They want to walk in a lit, safe area, whatever. And so you know,
Just play on the infield.
Right? Yeah, it's really going to be a true community point of recreation. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Great. Now, at this point, given where things are at, when would you envision that this project will be completed?
Well,
Or when will it start, and when will it be
yes.
completed?
Well, you know, we currently, right now, our goal is to let Pop Warner and the high school finish their season next November, and then start work on the field in December.
Okay.
The goal from that point on is to have those fields playable by that following season, so they don't lose a season.
And that was my other question, was is there going to be an impact to the high school football games at home?
Yeah, yeah. Our goal is, I mean, you know, and it's a very ambitious goal. So, you know, I'm a
No
little
snow.
hesitant to throw it out there, but you know, we are going to do our best to try not to lose a season. If we had to, you know, the Pop Warner and the high school could make arrangements to play all their games away for one season. But, you know, I would prefer, if we can, to put it in the specs when it goes out to bid that we want we want them to be able to play, you know, their home games as scheduled.
So now, if people haven't seen any architectural renditions of the renovated stadium, are there any that exist currently, and where might they go to see them?
Okay, right now, our architectural firm that has put together these drawings is CDM Smith. They don't have any public drawings as of yet, although on March 11th, I'm going before the City Council because that is the night of the public hearing for the loan order to cover the balance, excuse me, of what it will cost to build the stadium, and we will have a rendering, I'm sure, that night, so that councilors and the general public will be able to see it.
Again, what night was that?
That's going to be Monday, March 11th at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
And by the way, any interested resident who would like to see that stadium go forward and, you know, would like to come up and speak as a proponent is more than welcome to go up and show their support. As I say, it's not, you know, I think it serves just about every constituency in the city, you know, young, old. You know, as I say, it's going to be a real, true community recreation facility.
Yeah. Great. Moving on from there to a topic that's near and dear to a lot of people's hearts, and everybody always wants to know what's up with the casino. So what's happening in that field at this point?
Well, the city of Revere is, we have been working on this now for the last 14 months. We're just about done. We're done. Because the track sits part Revere, part East Boston, we're waiting for Boston to come along with this. You know, Boston is a bigger city. They move a little more slowly maybe than a city like Revere. We're smaller, a little more nimble. But you know, I am as anxious to sign this host community agreement, to announce it to the community, to ask the council to vote on a referendum, to put forward a referendum so that we can vote on this, and so that ultimately Suffolk Downs can put an application in to, you know.
And I noticed that Suffolk Downs was just holding meetings in East Boston, I think, during the past week, and I think the coming week there were the 2 informational meetings on the process, the mitigation process, and something that we were doing last year, I believe.
Yes.
So obviously, you know, they are a little bit behind in terms of their schedule. How does that affect your ability to go to the citizens of Revere with the mitigation package that maybe you've agreed with or even getting an agreement to bring to the citizens?
Right. Well, I'm very reluctant to sign any host community agreement until I know exactly what Boston's getting. I mean, I'm satisfied with what we've negotiated, but I want to have some parity with the city of Boston. I mean, we have to understand Boston's going to get the property taxes, at least the initial property taxes. That just has to do with geography. We have no control, nor does Suffolk Downs, in fairness to them, have any control over really where they're going to build that building. You know, they're going to renovate some of the existing buildings there. They happen to sit in East Boston. I mean, I suspect, like what happened in Foxwoods, there's going to be some expansion, and ultimately, someday, we will get some meaningful development in Revere. But as part of the mitigation process, you know, we I think have negotiated a very aggressive, like financial payment, I guess, in lieu of taxes, that will benefit the residents of this city in many, many ways. We'll, you know, hopefully put more police on the street, put more firefighters in the fire stations. It's going to, you know, add members, to the Public Works Department. It's going to benefit the schools, and with respect to after-school programs, nonprofits. I mean, we've tried to cover, and this is where the mitigation conversations through each and every ward in the city was extremely helpful to us, because we got a feel of what is important to the public. What does the public want to see? Yep. If this casino does come to fruition, what's important, to them? And so we compiled all this information, my Economic Development Director, John Festa, along with the City Council. The City Council has been extremely supportive. They attended many of those meetings. And, so we're kind of boxed in right now with the City of Boston.
Yeah, and having worked with John on some of those mitigations and televised some of it for Revere TV, I can say that, I thought that the opportunity for the community to participate in presenting ideas for mitigation was unbelievable. I'm not even sure I'm seeing that level of community involvement from the City of Boston at this point. But not to bash them, everybody does their way, but kudos to you and John and the people that worked on the mitigation for that sort of involvement. So not to try and put you on the spot a little bit, I mean, if you put your wizard hat on and you look at the crystal ball, when do you think the City of Boston will be at a point where you can then sign some sort of an agreement with Suffolk Downs and present the package to the city? Do you think that will be this year? Summer, fall?
Oh, I have to believe that it's going to be sometime this year. I mean, I keep hearing, unfortunately, Mayor Menino had a setback, and yes. Thankfully, he's made a recovery, but it's been a slow recovery, and he's got a lot of catching up to do in a lot of different areas. I know that he is on board with wanting to see this happen, but I understand their need to, make sure that all their I's are dotted and their T's are crossed. I mean, and I think they're a larger city. They're going to be under more scrutiny. And so they're going to have to really make sure that they've looked at every single angle of this, to cover their interests. I mean, but at the same time, we have to understand, and I'm sure the City of Boston does, I know we do, that we're talking about jobs, we're talking about revenue, we're talking about, in the case of Revere, a lot of collateral development opportunities. I mean, people are sitting on the sidelines waiting to spend tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars if this casino comes to fruition. So for me, I'm just kind of, really kind of getting a little frustrated, but at the same time, getting excited about the potential. I think it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility that the City of Boston could have this wrapped up within 30 to 60 days.
Oh, okay.
Because the word I'm getting now is they're looking for a June 25th date for a referendum. So, which we would do our referendums on the same date. So, in order for that to happen, a host community agreement would have to be signed within the next
fairly
30 to 60 days.
Yeah, right, exactly. Because am I correct in remembering that it's 90 days review before the referendum, or is it?
It's 60 to 90 days. As soon as they can get as soon as the election commissioner can call for an election, getting all whatever signatures and things that need to be done to put it forward. But And
one last question regarding the casino, yeah, I know there are two others on this, Steve Wynn with the Everett plan, and there's the group in Milford. My sense is that their involvement maybe delays the commission's decision somewhere down the road, but doesn't have any impact on the mitigation process. Would that be true?
Yeah, you're right. It is going to have no impact on the mitigation process. We have collectively with the City of Boston talked to the Gaming Commission about the fact that, look, there's got to be some date that's set. I mean, we just can't keep waiting and waiting and waiting. If our application is in, some action's got to be taken, whether, and I think the Gaming Commission recognizes that. In spite of how long this seems to have taken, we're actually leaps and bounds ahead of those other two proposals with respect to our due diligence. So I think we're in pretty decent shape.
Okay. Moving on to the final topic of today is the Revere Shines, the spring cleanup, as we call it, event. I think this is the 3rd annual?
This will be our 3rd annual,
Yep.
yes.
And it's going to be held when?
It's going to be held on the last Saturday of April, which is Saturday, April 27th, from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. Everybody is going to meet at the American Legion building on Broadway at 9 a.m. They'll be given gloves and brooms and shovels and whatever other equipment may be needed, trash bags. Go out to their designated areas and then return back afterwards for a collation. We're going to have a lot of the local establishments providing sandwiches and pizza and stuff like that. And it's a true community citywide cleanup, and the response thus far has been terrific. So I think it just builds community pride and at the same time does a heck of a job in cleaning up a lot of areas that desperately need it.
Anything new this year with the Revere Shines?
Well, we're partnering with the MBTA.
Okay.
And the MBTA is going to be taking all recyclable equipment except for glass and construction materials. So, you know, people that have, computers, computer monitors, whatever, they want to get rid of it, they can bring them down to the MBTA, and they're handling that as a recycling station. So, people that want to do their own spring cleaning and get involved can actually dispose of a lot of those disposables at the Wonderland station.
So if you've got old TV sets or old stereos laying around or computers laying around, and when you say to the MBTA, where do you bring them? Is it to like the Beachmont MBTA station?
It'll be to the Wonderland train station.
Wonderland train station. Okay.
Yep, and we will have more information forthcoming on that as well. So
well, that's a great way for people to because not everybody gets a chance to go down to DPW, to drop their stuff off down there, and I think there's a cost associated with that as well. So there's an opportunity to get rid of some stuff for free, so to speak. How do people sign up for it?
They just have to call our office at 781-286-8111. Or go to revere.org and they can get signed up. So, we're gonna make it increasingly easier for people to join in and participate.
All right. Well, great. Anything else about the Revere Shines Day that we haven't covered?
The only thing that I would say is that if people cannot come and spend the 3 hours with us that morning, if they could at least take time and clean up in front of their own homes, that's one way they can participate. Help us out just in that regard. That will be doing their fair share and helping us keep our city clean.
Well, I know we'll probably be talking about this some more in our next session, but for now we're running out of time. And once again, it was very informative, and thank you very much, Dan, for being available for these discussions.
Thank you, Ed, for having me.
For Revere TV, I'm Ed DeVoe, and thank you all once again for tuning in.